Well, good afternoon. We have 15 bills before us today, and we are going to bring in a different crowd for the last bill, which is a lot of street namings, and there are a lot of people who want to see the bill being passed if their loved one is one of the streets being named, after whom one of the streets is being named. The first of the 15 bills is introductory number 1172A, sponsored in conjunction with our administration by Speaker Quinn and Council members Brewer, Cook, Koslowitz, Van Bremer, Rodriguez, Gennaro, and Halloran. This legislation implements the recommendations of the Lobbying Commission appointed by myself and Speaker Quinn in February of 2011, and whose final report was released on March 13th of this year. In addition to enhanced reporting on lobbying activities, this legislation expands the definition of lobbying activities to include a wider range of efforts to influence elected officials and increases the threshold to require registration as a lobbyist from $2,000 to $5,000 annually. And I'd like to thank members of the Lobbying Commission and my Deputy Counselor, Bill Heinsohn, for his work on this bill, along with my Office of City Legislative Affairs and the City Council for approving this legislation. Councilman, who wants to speak?
Well, as our colleague Gail Brewer spoke very, very well on this particular matter, and obviously the full City Council, Mayor Bloomberg, agrees with this and moving forward. And so I'm just here to compliment you on the work that you've done with respect to this particular bill in order to move it forward.
Go ahead. You want to say? No. Nothing? We do have somebody dictating. From there you go, Dick.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Dick Daly, the Executive Director of the Citizens Union, and I'm pleased that you're here today to sign this important piece of legislation. To sign this important piece of legislation. As you well know, when you began your mayoralty, there was not much reporting of lobbying activity or transparency or accountability in this process. And as a result of a tremendous collaborative effort with the City Clerk's Office, the City Council, and you and your administration, we have achieved dramatic change over the past 12 years. You signed into law back in 2006, an important first phase of this lobbying law reform, and today you're about to sign this. It increases transparency and accountability and public trust in our government. It does bring in lobbying activity that has previously gone on in the city that has gone unreported. So there are a lot of great things in this bill, and a lot of people have worked very hard in a collaborative manner over the last number of years in showing how well government can accomplish something in the public interest when it works together. So we're thrilled with this moment, and I, on behalf of Citizens Union, if I may take a point of personal privilege, and thank you for your wonderful leadership of the city over the past 12 years. You've had an impactful time here in the city, and we appreciate your valuable public service.
Thank you. And I should point out that your organization has made a very big difference in the city in keeping people's feet to the fire and telling the public what's going on. Would anybody else like to add anything? If not, I'll sign the bill. The next two bills before us concern electric-powered vehicles. Introductory number 1176A is sponsored at the request of our administration by council members Delan, Ku, Capel, Van, Rodriguez, Vaca, Van Bremer, Mark Viverito, Chin, Gentili, Gennaro, Greenfield, Jackson, Halloran, and Ulrich. This legislation requires any new parking garage or lot to include electric service with sufficient capacity to provide for the installation in the future of electric vehicle charging stations at a minimum of 20% of the parking spaces. Alterations of parking garages or lots that include an increase in the size of the electric service must include provisions for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations. Providing for infrastructure to promote and support electric vehicle use will lead to improvement of our city's air quality and reduce our production of greenhouse gases. Introductory number 844A is sponsored by Council members Brewer, Drum, James, Capel, Koslowitz, Landa, Levin, Mendez, Palmer, Recchia, Van, Williams, Wills, Mark Viverito, Rodriguez, Vaca, Rose, Greenfield, Shin, Van Bremer, Gentili, Eugene, Gennaro, Jackson, and Halloran. This legislation creates an electric vehicle advisory committee tasked with seeking ways to promote electric vehicle usage among the general public. Representatives include several city agencies, the Speaker of the City Council, the 5 borough presidents, the electric vehicle industry, and transportation and environmental advocates. Recommendations will be due to the Mayor and Speaker on February 1st, 2015, and every year thereafter for 5 years. And I'd like to thank the Department of Transportation Commissioner Jeanette Sedekhan, Ari Khan, the Electric Vehicles Policy Advisor in the Office of Long-Term Planning and Sustainability, and my Office of City Legislative Affairs, and the City Council. Would you like to say something? Neither? Anybody else like to add anything? If not, I'll sign the bill. Okay. We have a long ways to go. The next bill before us is introductory number 1191A, sponsored by Council members Gonzalez, Brewer, Chin, James, Capel, Nelson, Reyna, Eugene, Kuv, King, Van Bremer, Drum, Rodriguez, Gennaro, Greenfield, and Jackson. This legislation provides business owners the ability to indicate a language preference for agency inspections. Approximately 48% of small business owners in New York City are immigrants, many of whom face language barriers, which may cause confusion and lack of awareness about the city's business regulation and permitting rules. This legislation affords businesses the opportunity to assess information in languages other than English, to access information in languages other than English, and the ability to request language interpretation services for agency inspections. This legislation requires the Mayor's Office of Operations to develop and implement, to a reasonable extent, a plan for language preferences to be indicated by business owners and for all agencies to be informed about these preferences. This legislation also requires that applicants for permits from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and applicants for licenses from the Department of Consumer Affairs to have the opportunity to note a language preference for agency inspections or to note which language interpretation system services they want provided in conjunction with their permits or licenses. Although the business owners will be able to provide preferences, failure to comply does not create a cause of action against the city. I'd like to thank Consumer Affairs Commissioner Jonathan Mintz, Health Commissioner Dr. Thomas Farley, Mayor's Office of Operations Director Elizabeth Weinstein, and all their staff, along with the City Legislative Affairs Office and the City Council. Would you like to speak?
So, Mayor, the City Council, clearly, this is the city of immigrants and people from all over the world, and the languages in which we speak, we must be able to communicate loud and clear. And as the City of New York, we have languages which are mandated to be given out to people. And so the more we communicate, the better we communicate, the more effective our city will operate. And so as a member of the City Council, who's a sponsor of this bill, I say to everyone involved, thank you for moving this forward as the mayor of the City of New York on behalf of all of the people of the City of New York and small businesses.
Yes, as a city that's full of diversity and sitting on the Small Business Committee, it's imperative that we give information to our small business owners that allows them to comply with the law, but also understand the rules and regulations that are on the books. So I think this is another great step in this great city of ours, and I thank all the members who made this day a success and the mayor for signing this bill into law. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to add anything? No, I'll sign the bill.
The committee staff right here that works on the bill.
The next 6 bills before us require reports which, from a variety of city agencies. Introductory number 1194A is sponsored by Council Members Palmer, Cabrera, Chin, James, Capel, Brewer, Eugene, Vaca, Van Bremer, Levin, Rodriguez, Gentili, and Gennaro. This legislation requires the Director of the Office of Long-Term Planning and Sustainability, in conjunction with the Health Department, Human Resources Administration, community-based organizations, and service providers, to establish a set of indicators to measure food security. Beginning in 2014, these indicators will be included in the city's Food System Metrics Report. Introductory number 930A is sponsored by Council Members Vaca, Rodriguez, Fiddler, James, Koo, Lander, Rose, Van Bremer, Drum, Capel, Greenfield, Gentili, Gennaro, and Halloran. This legislation requires the Taxi and Limousine Commission to report quarterly on average wait times for taxis and for hired vehicles to get their vehicles inspected at the Commission's assigned inspection facility. Introductory number 1114A is sponsored by Council Members Garodnick, James, Koo, Rose, Wills, Rodriguez, Vaca, Brandrema, Mark Viverito, Brewer, Capel, Greenfield, Gentili, Gennaro, and Olnuk. This legislation requires the Department of Transportation to publish their street design manual every 4 years. The manual includes policies and design guidelines for the improvement of roads and sidewalks throughout the city. The manual shall serve as a comprehensive resource for promoting higher quality street designs and more efficient project implementation. The manual shall cover a variety of topics related to street design, including but not limited to complete design, street design features, materials, street lighting, street furniture, and landscaping. Introductory number 1009A is sponsored by Council Members Capel, Mealy, Lander, Brewer, Chin, Fiddler, James, Mendez, Williams, Wills, Lappin, Rodriguez, Van Bremer, Mark Viverito, Ferraris, Barron, Jackson, Drum, Gentili, Gennaro, and Halloran. This legislation requires the city's chief procurement officer to submit to the City Council an annual report on the city's procurement of preferred source products, which are procurements from organizations employing the disabled or incarcerated. The first of the 2 final reporting bills before us is introductory number 925A, sponsored by Council Members Jackson, Arroyo, Brewer, Chin, Drum, Eugene, Fiddler, Gentili, James, Koo, Lander, Recchia, Rose, Williams, Lappin, Rodriguez, Capel, Levin, Van Bremer, Greenfield, Barron, and Gennaro. This legislation requires the Department of Education to submit an annual report to the City Council detailing their compliance with state art education requirements. The second bill is introductory number 1091A, sponsored by Council Members King, Arroyo, Cabrera, Chin, Comrie, Dickens, Ferraris, Fiddler, Garodnick, James, Koo, Capel, Lander, Mark Viverito, Mendez, Reyna, Richards, Rivera, Rose, Van Bremer, Palmer, Rodriguez, Wills, Brewer, Barron, Jackson, Vaca, Levin, Greenfield, Gentili, Eugene, Gennaro, and Ulrich. This legislation requires the Department of Education to distribute information on college savings plans to all students. I'd like to thank Schools Chancellor Dennis Walcott, Transportation Commissioner Jen Sadikan, Human Resource Commissioner Robert Dorr, Health Commissioner Dr. Thomas Farley, Tax and Limousine Commission David Yaski, Mayor's Office of Contract Services Director Andrea Glick, and all their staffs to work on these bills, along with our city's Office of Legislative Affairs. And now let us see if anybody would like to say anything. First, Councilman?
Andy King first.
First, I want to thank the council for all these pieces of legislation that we're voting on today. But more importantly, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to take a me moment. Intro 1091 is my first piece of legislation that's being signed today, and I'm really excited about the work that my staff did, Eric Henry, along with the committee chair, Councilmember Jackson, Asia Schomburg. I thank you all for allowing for me to officially say now I'm really now a legislator. I've got a piece of legislation passed. So this piece of legislation is just the beginning of allowing families to start thinking about the importance of education, not what just it costs, but making sure that students understand they have to be prepared early on in life, so financially, if they are able to have these options, that academically they are ready. So I'm excited about 1091 being passed today, and I thank everyone, and I thank the future for that will benefit from this piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome, Councilman.
So, Andy, let me thank you for pushing forward to try to move this particular bill in, which you did. Even though it was in my committee, you were the driving force behind it, you and your staff. I thank all of the staff involved in moving this bill forward, but also I thank the arts advocacy community, because now the City of New York will be reporting as to meeting the minimum requirements under state law, which is very, very important. We should not only meet the minimum standard, we should go beyond that. And this now will be reporting whether or not the City of New York Department of Education are meeting those standards. So I thank the arts advocacy community for helping to move this forward, and of course the speaker and the staff involved, and of course your office, Mayor, and the Office of Legislative Affairs.
Thank you. Eric Pryor from the Center for Arts Education has signed up. Eric?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Pryor from the Center for Arts Education. I'm here today to offer our strong support for 925A. We feel that 925A is going to be essential in terms of understanding and making sure the baselines are being met from the state requirements for the kids in New York City. We firmly believe that a well-rounded education has to include the arts, and we think this is a great step in that direction. I'd be remiss if there are a couple other things that this allows for. I think it's critical that parents are in a position to know if their child's school, they're meeting the requirements, as well as we believe it's vitally important for us to be able to do the data mapping that will allow us to know where deserts exist and how to allocate resources so that we can help those children who are not getting arts education to get it. This is about our children. I want to thank Councilman Jackson for your leadership, Speaker Quinn for yours, and the entire City Council, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for making this possible today.
Would anybody else like to add anything? If not, I'll sign the 6 bills. The next two bills before us today relate to the city's public burial ground found on Hart Island and Long Island Sound and operated by the city's Department of Corrections. Introductory number 603A, sponsored by council members Crowley, Otto, Vaca, Landa, Cabrera, Drum, Eugene, Ferraris, James Koo, Capel, Koslowitz, Levin, Palmer, Rose, Williams, Wills, Weprin, Mendez, Mark Viverito, Jackson, Rodriguez, Van Bremer, Gentili, Gennaro, Greenfield, and Halloran. This legislation requires the Department of Corrections to make available on its website its electronic database of people buried at Hart's Island since 1977. The department published its database last April, and anyone can access it by going to www.nyc.gov/doc. Introductory number 804A is sponsored by council members Crowley, Otto, Vaca, Lander, Brewer, Cabrera, Drum, Eugene, Jackson, James, Koo, Capel, Koslowitz, Levin, Palmer, Rose, Wills, Mendez, Mark Viverito, Rodriguez, Van Bremer, Gentili, Gennaro, Greenfield, and Halloran. This legislation requires the Department of Correction to put its Hart's Island visitation policy in writing, post it on its website, and make it available to anyone who requests a copy. The department has placed its visitation policy on its website as well. I'd like to thank Department of Commissions Correctioner Dora Schreiro and her staff, along with my city's Office of Legislative Affairs, that work on this bill. The City Council. Would either of you like to speak?
We in the City Council feel this is an excellent bill. Obviously, New York is such a mecca for so many people to come to, and obviously, when you're looking for a loved one that may have died, we want to have as much information as possible to determine whether or not they are buried at Hart's Island. And to have that on the Department of Correctional Services website and the visiting hours is so, so important. So I thank everyone involved for moving this bill forward, knowing that the information will be available to anyone that's searching for loved ones that may be buried.
Councilman? Anybody else? If not, I'll sign these bills. The next bill before us today is introductory number 1040A, sponsored by council members Otto, Fiddler, Gentili, James, Koo, Capel, Rose, Drum, Van Bremer, and Gennaro. This legislation prohibits the posting of signs on city-owned grassy areas adjacent to a street, and I'd like to thank the Department of Sanitation Commissioner John Doherty and staff for working this bill, along with the Office of City Legislative Affairs and the City Council. Gail, would you care?
No, fine.
No? Either one?
Okay. On behalf of our colleague Jimmy Otto, obviously this bill is so important for them, especially on Staten Island and other areas where a grassy situation exists. And so I just support Jimmy and everything he does overall. He's been a good colleague of ours, even though he's a Republican in the City Council of New York.
Anybody like to add anything? If not, the next bill before us is introductory number 143A, sponsored by council members Fiddler, Drum, Ferraris, Gentili, Gonzalez, James, Capel, Nelson, Reyna, Rodriguez, Williams, Crowley, Weprin, Vallone, Cabrera, Garodnik, Eugenie, Van Koo, Van Bremer, Chin, Gennaro, Greenfield, Jackson, Halloran, and Otto. This legislation requires the fire department to submit a monthly report to the City Council detailing average response times for a variety of emergency responses, from when a 911 operator is called to when a responding ambulance or fire truck arrives at the scene. This legislation is named in honor of Ariel Russo, a young girl who was tragically struck by a vehicle and died. Ariel's parents are with us this afternoon. I'd like to offer my heartfelt condolences for their loss. I don't know quite what I would say if it was my daughter. I would also like to thank Fire Commissioner Salvatore Casanos and staff for their work on this bill, along with the City Office of Legislative Affairs and the City Council for approving this legislation. City Council members, anybody want to add anything?
Lou Fiddler.
Thank you. It has certainly been the hallmark of this administration that transparency and facts and data helps us do our jobs better. That's what this bill does for our emergency response team, particularly as we change the methodology that we're using in emergency responses. I certainly want to acknowledge the presence here of Ariel's parents. As a father of two great sons, I can't even imagine the pain that one must feel at the senseless loss of a child, particularly at such a tender age. And as I said the day we passed it, I hope this will give some meaning to you for the senseless loss of your beautiful daughter. And know that if we do a better job of responding to emergencies because of this bill, she will have helped save that life. I do want to thank the mayor and Speaker Quinn, Chairwoman Crowley, the staff of the Fire and Criminal Justice Committee, and my counsel, Brad Reed, who worked so hard on making sure that this bill did everything it possibly could. And of course, I hope the mayor will sign it.
Anybody else add anything?
Just want to say,
Yeah.
I'm Gail Brewer. I live right near the family, and I've been to several memorial services at the building, and I just want to add, this family has shown up over and over again. It's wonderful that Councilmember Fiddler has sponsored this legislation, but I'm just here to say congratulations to the family. It is not easy to keep all of us thinking about Ariel, but more importantly, to show up and be present. Many families don't do that, so I'm just here to say congratulations to you.
Again, heartfelt condolences, and I know the Lord is watching over as little Ariel's spirit is guiding us each and every day. But I want to thank Councilmember Fiddler and all the council members, because this is where government shows up and responds to the needs of our people, quick, fast, and in a hurry to anything that happens. So again, I want to thank you for your leadership on this piece of legislation, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for signing into law.
Mrs. Russo, you wanted to say something?
I would just like to share that on Tuesday, March 10, 2009, a beautiful little girl named Ariel came into this world, and on Tuesday, June 4th, 2013, this beautiful 4-year-old little girl was tragically taken too soon. But today, Tuesday, December 17th, Ariel's city is honoring her as an agent of change. And this brings so much meaning and so much light to this tragedy. And I just want to thank Mayor Bloomberg and the City Council from the bottom of my heart as Ariel's mother for signing this bill that will change the way we record response time and will save the lives of New Yorkers of all ages. So thank you.
You're welcome. Nothing we can say can ever bring back your daughter, but at least we'll try to do something to keep tragedies like this from hopefully never happening again.
Thank you.
God's with you. So. The final bill before us today is introductory number 1188, sponsored by Speaker Quinn and council members Arroyo, Brewer, Chin, Comrie, Crowley, Dickens, Drum, Gentili, Halloran, Ignazio, Capel, Koslowitz, Mark Viverito, Otto, Recchia, Rivera, Rodriguez, Rose, Vaca, Valone, Van Bremer, Von James, and Gennaro. Introductory number 1188 renames 56 thoroughfares and public places throughout the city. The first names that I will read are street names in honor of two people who died on September 11th, 2001. And although this is a modest gesture, the local law demonstrates the city's commitment to always remembering those who perished that day. And in going through this, if I mangle names, I apologize. I've been known to do that for 12 years. And almost 72 years, I'm not going to do that. Salman Hamdani Way, EMT, NYPD Cadet, 91101 from Queens, and firefighter Peter J. Carroll Way from Staten Island. The next 7 names I'll read are streets named in honor of fire, police, and military personnel who died in the line of duty and service to our country or to our city. Private First Class Carlos James Lozada Place in the Bronx, Police Officer Calabresi and Police Officer Keegan Plaza, Manhattan, SSG Michael H. Hollis Way in Staten Island, Major Walter M. Murphy Jr. Way in Staten Island, Carmen Granito and William Smith Way on Staten Island, firefighter Michael G. Behetti, 911 Memorial Way in Brooklyn, and Farver Capodanno Place in Staten Island. The next set of names represents individuals or entities that are being honored for their lifetime achievements, and while it is not possible to describe the reason for each individual or entity deserving of a street name change, each council member who submitted a name did present a detailed justification for this honor. Miguel Angel Mike Amadado Way in the Bronx, Rivera Avenue in the Bronx, Miles Davis Way in Manhattan, Jeanette Freeman Way in Manhattan, Private Danny Chen Way in Manhattan, Bishop Roderick R. Caesar Jr. Way in Queens, Apostle John H. Boyd Sr. Way in Queens, Reverend Lucille C. Hill Way in Queens, Reverend Charles W. Mixon Way in Queens, Dora Young Way in Queens, Pope John Paul II Way in Queens, Teachers College Way in Manhattan, Sylvia P. Woods Way in Manhattan, St. James Place in Manhattan, Grace Gold Way in Manhattan, Dr. John L.S. Holloman Way in Manhattan, Dr. Billy Taylor Way in Manhattan, Jean Jules Morty Manfield P. Flag Way in Queens, Richard Italiano Corner in Queens, John and Dorothy McGuire Way in Brooklyn, Tom Kane Way in Brooklyn, Mrs. Gary Salimi Place, PS 41 in Queens, Friar Wissa Besada Way in Staten Island, Korean War Veterans Way in Staten Island, Mary J. Lauro Way in the Bronx, Emmanuel and Adam Gold Plaza in Queens, Yolanda Sanchez Place in Manhattan, Charlie Palmieri Way in Manhattan, William Creech Vietnam Veteran Way in Staten Island, Herbert Ellis Smith Smitty Way in Staten Island, Joseph N. Esposito Lighthouse Joe Corner, Staten Island, Edward A. Tierney Sr. Corner in Staten Island, Soccer Hall of Famer John Jack Hines Way in Staten Island, Paramedic Lieutenant David G. Restuccio Way in Staten Island, Brandon Romero Plaza in Manhattan, Firefighter William Tropia Way in Brooklyn, John Mulhern Way in Brooklyn, Natalie Nat Serini Corner in the Bronx, Guadalupe Rodriguez Way in Manhattan, Addison Branch Way in Staten Island, William S. Klapach Way in Staten Island, Ellis Carmen Way in the Bronx, the Honorable Gloria D. Amico Place in Queens, Sunnyside Gardens Arena Way in Queens, Walter McCaffrey Place in Queens, Dr. John Maynard Way in Brooklyn, Birdie Records Way in Brooklyn, and I want to thank the City Council for approving this legislation. We have a number of people who are signed up to speak. First, the City Council, and then we have a timer just to try to get through. There's a lot of people who all want to have their ability to say something and have other things to do this afternoon. So if we could just try to listen to the timer or even keep it shorter. First, City Council.
Thank you very much. I'm Gail Brewer. I represent the west side of Manhattan currently. And I am, there are two pieces. One is, the first is on West 77th Street and West End Avenue. be renamed Miles Davis Way in honor of the person we know well, the jazz icon Miles Davis. As you know, he lived, composed, collaborated, and rehearsed at 312 West 77th Street for 25 years, 1958 to 1983. He was one of the first African Americans to own a townhouse on the Upper West Side. It was to be the birthplace of many of Davis's most famous compositions, and it was here he collaborated with pianist Bill Evans on the album Kind of Blue, which of course is a best-selling album. The 2nd Street, 60th and Broadway, will be renamed Police Officer Calabrese and Police Over Keegan Plaza. The corner will be named in honor of 2 officers who bravely gave their lives in 1980. Officer Calabrese, 34, was shot and killed with his own weapon while attempting to arrest a fare evader at the Columbus Circle subway station. Officer Keegan was shot and killed while attempting to arrest a fare evader in a separate incident. And I look forward to looking up at these signs and thinking about these people and all of your loved ones. Thank you very much.
Counselor?
Yes. Good job, Gail.
Please hold your applause to the end.
First, I just want to commend each and every one of you who submitted a name, and the council was able to move forward with the mayors to making sure that this sign is in place. The people that we were going to be recognizing forever in our communities, God willing, we'll say forever, will be pillars of the work that they've done over the course of time. But I want to just give a special thanks to Mary J. Lowell Way. I had the privilege of working with Mary Lowell as an activist. When she passed away, she had this little raspy voice that when you spoke, you knew that she was in the room. And as much as she spoke truth to power, you had to respect her when she walked into a room, and she always informed you of something that was real. And that's why we love her up in the North Bronx, and I'm looking forward to when we unveil this sign. And to the Wakefield Taxpayers Association, God bless. Mary Lowell will always be in our hearts. Amen.
Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the constituents I represent in Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst, and Dyker Heights in Brooklyn, I want to thank you for signing this bill and making it official, the street co-namings that we have in my community. First of all, I'd like to mention one of the street namings is for firefighter Michael Behet, 911 Way, Memorial Way, and Michael's mom is with us today. Michael was really a hero in the true sense of the word hero. He was assigned to Ladder 172 in Bensonhurst. But on September 11, 2001, Michael was on vacation in Florida. When he heard what happened, he knew he had to get back to New York City, but there were no flights to New York City, so he rented a car and drove back from Florida. Back in New York City, he worked for a month straight on the pile and continued working at Ground Zero for the next 6 months, searching desperately for his missing colleagues. But that selfless act of searching did not come without consequence. Last year, Michael died from lung cancer as a result of exposure to the toxic debris at Ground Zero. So I'll be honored to participate in this co-naming ceremony. The next one is for a great individual, Tom Kane Way, and members of Tom's family are here with us today. Tom Kane really was Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Tom was everywhere, knew everyone, whether in sports, development, arts, or other activities. His work and dedication to the youth and community was unmatched. He had a long and successful career on Wall Street, but after he retired, Tom settled into his true love, the theater arts. Throughout the years, Tom spent time performing with just about every theater group in Southern Brooklyn and helped create the highly successful Brooklyn One Theater Group. He truly loved each and every day for others, but he was cut short at a young age and succumbed to cancer. This naming will help instill the legacy of what Tom Kane meant to us in our neighborhood. And finally, the third street naming is John and Dorothy McGuire Way, and we have a large contingent of the McGuire family here with us today. The year was 1974, and the ambulance response rate in Southern Brooklyn was in excess of more than an hour. So John and Dorothy McGuire, with a handful of community residents, decided to take matters in their own hands by forming a volunteer ambulance service. Through them, BRAVO was born. BRAVO is the acronym for Bay Ridge Volunteer Ambulance Organization. BRAVO's response time was under 5 minutes as opposed to the city's 60 minutes in those years. So today, BRAVO is a household name, and their headquarters provide a home away from home for its volunteers and a learning center for the community. The contributions John and Dorothy McGuire made to the community remain an inspiration to others looking to help make our city a a better place to live and by getting involved and volunteering. So again, we are pleased to honor John and Dorothy McGuire. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. First, let me thank everyone involved in bringing us to where we are today, where the mayor is going to sign into law a street co-naming for all members of your family and friends. I want to say that I believe, Mayor, you mentioned Sylvia Woods, and as you know, Sylvia's restaurant in Harlem is well known. I believe the family are here, and there is an annual scholarship that they raise money in order to provide young people the opportunity for a better education. And that's what Ms. Woods was about. But also Lupe Rodriguez up in northern Manhattan and Washington Heights is a woman that worked hard to make sure that children had an after-school program to attend and taught them not only remedial work and taught them about civics and community involvement. In fact, I have a big portrait in my office where the kids painted when I walked to Albany 150 miles to win $16 billion on behalf of the children of New York City. And they brought that to me a couple of months later, and it's still hanging in my office today. So Guadalupe Rodriguez will be sorely missed in northern Manhattan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor? We have a number of people who want to talk. Let me call them out 4 or 5 at a time, and if you could just line up to save some time. Archie Spigner, Reverend Kim Beecham, Erica Carr, Brendan Malone, and Chris Matkovich.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors. Excuse me. We're here this afternoon. There are a number of people from our community whose names will be commemorated on street corners in our city, and all worthy and have made notable contributions. And I know and love and admire all of them. And I will one day at a time when I have to speak in favor and in memory of all. But I just want to say a quick word about Dora Young, who, if I didn't say it, she'd probably come back from wherever she is and have mean things to say about me. Dora Young was my co-leader for 35 years. And so, if you know anything about longevity and co-leaders, that was Dora. Dora served in her church, St. Benedict the Moor. She was a deputy city clerk. She was Santa Claus. She served in the Ashley Park Civic Association. Wherever there was a cause and a need, Dora was there. And so what we do today to keep fresh her contributions in her memory, she is worthy. And I thank you, and I say the same for Bishop Mixon and what's your father's name? Caesar, and Bishop Caesar, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Bishop Beecham?
Reverend Beecham, to the mayor and to the city council. Beside me is my mother, Mother Beecham. Yep. We just want to say thank you from the Maranatha Baptist Church for all that you have done to help us remember our spiritual father, who was a community leader that we love so much, who was a great mentor to me. We just want to say thank you. We know there's a lot of speakers, but we are grateful, and may God continue to bless you all.
Thank you. Erica Carr?
Hi, I'm Erica Carr, and I just wanted to be able to say thank you for someone remembering my aunt, Dora H. Young. She was very committed to her family, her community, and her church, as Archie Spigner spoke about. And she did so much to the community. She was so many firsts, and she married so many people in New York as city clerk. And she was so proud of that. Everywhere we went, even when she became sick, before she passed away, when we went to the hospitals and nursing homes, she married somebody. And she was so proud of all the work that she did for the community. And I just want to say thank you for putting her name as Dora Young Way, and so that she will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. Brendan Mallon?
How are you? I just wanted to say thank you to the City of New York on the behalf of my family and the New York City Police Department for naming the street after my great uncle, Joseph Keegan, who was shot and killed on the line of duty. 1980, along with Officer Calabrese the same year in February of that year. I think the street naming is a nice gesture to show that the city still pays respect to officers that gave their life in the line of duty. And I carry Joe's picture in my memo book, so even though his watch is over, he'll still come out with me when I graduate the academy in December.
Good. You should go. There's a memorial in Battery Park City where they list the names and dates of police officers killed in the line of duty from the founding of the city. In the 70s, there was one a week.
Yeah.
It's a very different world today. Last week, we had one murder. It wasn't a cop, thank God, but one murder. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Maktovitz, and then after that, Patricia Borst, Mrs. Madeline Behetti, I'm sorry, Behetti, it's hard to read, Thomas Ferrara, and Drew Tagliahouse.
I just want to thank the City of New York, City Council, NYPD, and the mayor for renaming the street after my great-uncle, Joe Keegan. It's a true honor and reflection on his service and his duty as an officer. Thank you.
Patrick Borst. If you could start coming up now, those names I read, just to save some time, that'd be great.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to, on behalf of Tom Kane's family, I'd like to thank the Office of Councilman Gentili for all the work they did to help us get this process going. I'd like to thank all the members of Community Board 10 for everything they did to work through the process with us and to get this name successfully done. Tommy was a tireless worker in Bay Ridge on behalf of the arts, the sports programs, and the charities. As a writer of at the Bay Ridge Eagle, he made sure that the children in the neighborhood were always mentioned, were always thought about, and it was always a good thing to see when his column came out. And lastly, what I would say is I think it's great that Mayor Bloomberg is signing the bill today because Tommy was basically considered the mayor of Bay Ridge. So thank you.
Mrs. Madeline Behetti, is it? I'm sorry.
My name is Madeline Behet, and my son Michael passed away last year. Also, Mr. Vincent Gentili described Michael to the tilt, but I'd also like to add, when he was in Calvary, all his friends used to come to visit him, and everybody would tell me different story. Your son was the strongest ever. They used to carry 2 victims from fires out, and he was continue 24/7. He will not stop. And the way he drove also from Florida all the way, I didn't see him, straight to ground zero. And anyway, he got a speeding ticket there too, whatever. And only he wants to get there and try to help from the heart. That's how he was. And thank you, all of you. Thank all of you, especially
Thomas Ferrara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make this brief. It's an appreciation for the renaming of River Avenue to Rivera Avenue for Mariana Rivera. It's a lot lighter note than a lot of the stories we've been hearing here and around us, but we wanted to thank some people in particular, certainly Councilwoman Arroyo, her assistant Joanne Otero, who's very helpful on this, the New York Post, which would be Mike Vaccaro, Chris Shaw, his staff as well, and my daughter Elizabeth, who's in the front row. She did a lot of the heavy lifting and getting the bill done. But Mariano's a great New Yorker. He's the only living person among this group, and it really is humbling being here representing him and certainly this renaming. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for all that you've done over the past 12 years. You've kept this city safe, and for all the people behind me that really are on the ground and do what they do to make New York a great city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Drew Tagliahouse, I'm sorry, I can't read it. And also Brenda Carr, if you'd come up next. Orlando Mendez, Shirley Zafrima, and Vincent Wilburn, and Bishop Rodriguez Caesar.
I'm Drew Tagliabue, Executive Director of PFLAG New York City, and on behalf of parents, family, and friends
parents
of...
that I know?
Yes.
Tell them I said hello.
I will, thank you. So on behalf of parents, family, and friends of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people, I want to thank Councilmember Drum for sponsoring this street naming, and you, Mr. Mayor, for signing the bill naming Jean, Jules, and Morty Manford PFLAG Way in Queens, renaming the section of the street on which Jean Manford lived. She is the first mother ever to march in a gay pride parade anywhere in the world when she marched in 1972 in New York's Gay Pride Parade. She led the movement of parents coming out in support of their lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender children, and that families coming out of the closet about their loved ones being gay is the single most important factor, I think, in the progress we have achieved today on gay, lesbian, bi, and trans rights. And I also want to thank you for all of the support you have shown, Mr. Mayor, in your 12 years as mayor on lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender rights, helping to lead the fight here for marriage equality in New York, on immigration equality, and on many other issues that have helped us move towards full equality. So thank you very much.
Well, you and your parents have been helpful, too. You should know his father was the commissioner of the NFL. Now, he never called me and said they want you to be quarterback anyplace, but that's another issue. Nevertheless. Brenda Carr?
My name is Brenda Carr, and I'm Dora Young's niece. Everyone has already said all her achievements, but I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor and the council, and this is such a privilege. One of her requests at her funeral, she had told a number of people, you make sure my name stays on that building. Well, now I'm sure she's smiling wherever she is to see that her name is going to be on a street sign. So I totally appreciate it. Our family appreciate it. And we came up from Virginia because I am a New York transplant, but I'm back. So thank you so much,
welcome.
everybody. Okay.
Orlando Mendez?
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor Bloomberg, as well as the other honorable members of New York City Council and fellow guests. My name is Orlando Mendez, as introduced by the mayor. I'm a friend of Lori Gold, here to speak on behalf of Lori E. Gold and Grace's older sister, and Norman Weiss, professor of architecture, planning, and historic preservation at Columbia University. Lori would like to thank the Honorable Council members Dickens, who kindly sponsored Grace Gold Way, and co-sponsors, Honorable Council members Recchia, Mark Viverito, Mendez, Chin, Crowley, and Brewer, and members of the Councils and Parks and Recreations Committee. Chair Mark Viverito and Council members Ms. Crowley, Ferreras, Gentile, Vaca, Drum, and Van Bramer. Finally, thank you to the unbelievable aides. The slice of Broadway sandwiched between 115th and 116th Streets will become Grace Gold Way, and the family thanks you. This is an apt placement as Grace's last residence was a dorm on 116th Street, and her death occurred on the corner of Broadway and 115th Street, when she was struck by a piece of full masonry from that building, that particular building on that corner. Lori and I thank you, and on behalf of the Golds and extended family, friends, and thousands of others that have weighed in with support, as well as the Barnard and Morningside Heights community. The lives of citizens, residents, and visitors to New York City were made safer thanks to the protections of Local Law 11, Grace's legacy. And now Grace will be permanently remembered by Grace Gold Way. The next remarks come from Norman Weiss, professor of architecture, planning, and preservation at Columbia University. Every semester for 34 years, Professor Weiss has taken his classes to the corner where Grace died, so students can understand the importance of the event that caused Grace's death and can appreciate the significance of what came afterwards. Professor Weiss wishes you to consider this. Local Law 10, enacted in 1980 and strengthened in 1998 as Local Law 11, has made the city of New York a safer place. It was the direct result of the death of Grace Gold at 115th Street and Broadway. The law has become the central focus for an entire generation of architects, structural engineers, preservation consultants, and Department of Buildings professionals. For an even wider community of contractors, bricklayers, stone setters, and scaffold erectors, the street co-naming will finally give a site-specific history to what they do to protect the public every day. On behalf of Lori, Norman, and myself, we humbly and sincerely thank you for giving Grace Gold Way to New York City.
You're welcome. Shirley Jeffrau, and Vincent Wilburn, Jr. Sorry.
My name is Shirley Zafra, and I'm here as a longtime resident of West 77th Street and Miles Davis's neighbor. This is his nephew with me, Vincent Wilburn, Jr.
I want to thank, on behalf of my family, I'd like to thank the mayor and the city council. I flew in from Los Angeles, and somebody told me that the Yankee cap would be a nice touch. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. And I want to thank this lady for diligently.
Well, the way the New York teams are going, we need every bit of luck.
I just wanted to thank some people that really gave me enough energy to continue this to be successful. And thank you very much for doing this, for making 77th Street between West End and Riverside Drive Miles Davis Way. And I'm just thrilled, totally thrilled. Thank you so much. It was a long 5-year effort, a couple of road stops along the way, roadblocks. But Gail Brewer's office and CB7 in the end took me by the hand and showed me how to get around the confusing bureaucracy maze that lay before me. And this is where we are today, and I thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bishop Rodriguez Cesar and Pastor Beverly Cesar.
Good afternoon. I would like to, we are the children of Bishop Roderick R. Caesar Sr., and we are extremely grateful that this is happening today. We want to thank you, Mayor, for working with us on this. I also want to thank Leroy Comrie and the City Council, Margaret Denson, Joyce Lawrence, where without their help this could not have taken place. And the last week of my dad's life, I said to him, I said, you'll never be forgotten, not even knowing that one day this would take place. So we are extremely grateful. Thank you so much.
And I am the son of Bishop Roderick R. Caesar Sr., and I'm his namesake and the successor of the ministry that he founded 82 years ago. He was an immigrant from St. Lucia. He came to America and found his dream here and fulfilled his purpose here. Through his life and through his ministry, tens of thousands of people have come to a meaningful relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, not just going to church in terms of having a superficial tie. Out of what he has established, we have ministries all around the world, and we've established Camp Upstate New York, a Bible school, and many other things. For the past 65 years, consistently, we've been on radio sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, all because one man said yes to the vision and the purpose that God had given him to live. So we are more than honored that we have an opportunity to immortalize him in this way and to make his name a name that will go on forever. I'm his successor. I have a son waiting to take my place when I step aside. So there'll be 3 generations of Roderick Caesar giving godly leadership to the flock of people that God has entrusted us with. Thank you so much for this honor. God richly bless each one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're not in the shot, can you sit? Okay.
Right, everyone will step right there. See, Lisa, you can.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Sad to say, we have to remember somebody, but also we do remember that. Hopefully.
Thank you.